Okay, so today I want to give all of the people who are just beginners out there an understanding of how to get started with your first agentic AI workflow. Now, I personally believe that, you know, there is no longer it's not optional to learn how to build agentic workflows because they're going to very soon be placed on top of all of the economically valuable activities that we do. And so you should know how to build them, how to interact with them, how to give them tasks, how to decide when to use what. These are things that you should know, and that will be beneficial to you as the economy becomes more and more agentic. Okay, so just before we get there, I've made a guide and it's in the description, so you can use that to follow along with this video if you want to. You don't have to, but you can. It's there for free, and it contains all of the step-by steps of how to do it, including commands that you can just copy and paste directly. So it's all in there down in the description. But if you don't want to do it, then I'm going to show you right now how to do it. And yeah, let's just get started. Okay, so I'm going to show you two ways to do it. One way is completely free. Like one way will you won't be charged for any of the API calls that you make using one of these methods. And the other method, we're going to use the Opus model by Claude. So the first one is free, but you don't get the reasoning power behind models like Opus. The second one is paid for because you have to use your Claude account, but you do get the benefits of the reasoning power. So you can pick and choose when you want to use what. Anyways, just to get started, what you'll do is you need to just open a Google Chrome tab and you want to just go to Olama install, okay? And it will go ahead and you can download it from macOS or you can paste this into the terminal, okay? And the same thing goes for Claude Code. You want to just go ahead and use Claude Code install. This is the command that you want to paste into your terminal. All right, so once you have both of those things open, or once you have them installed, you should be able to just open your terminal. If you're on Mac or Windows, it's a bit different for you, but if you're on Mac, this is what you would type, is just do Olama dash dash version and Claude dash dash version. And you just want to see that there actually is there. And we have this Olama in the top corner here, which means that we actually do have Olama and it's running. So now if you go to run Olama list, I'll see these are the models that I have, right? So I have Minimax. So this is the one that we're going to be using today, and I'm going to show you how to get started. So you might have Olama list and you'll have nothing here, which is okay. It's still perfectly fine. I'm going to show you how to actually install it. So now we'll talk about this is the free method of getting Claude Code running without actually using any API keys, right? So you need to just, what I would mention though, is you need to pay attention to your usage. So for example, if I go into this and I just go to olama.com, you can see I'm signed in and I go to my models, there's nothing there, but if I choose settings and see my session usage, it says it resets in 16 minutes and I've already used 48%. All right, so you want to pay attention to this because it's gonna be really important when you're figuring out when your reset is about to happen. So I have about half left, which should be enough for this. Okay, cool. So if here, just type clear, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna launch Claude Code, right? And we're gonna do it using Olama, all right? So before we do that, we will need to make a folder. So I'm gonna just go here. I'm gonna go to Finder. I'm gonna open Finder, Documents, and I'm gonna make a new folder, and I'm gonna call this Agent. Okay. Now currently this folder is empty. So what you need to do is open up any kind of IDE. I'm using anti-gravity, and the way you get it, and it's free. You just go here, type anti-gravity, go to the download, and you literally just download it right there. That's all you got to do. It's very simple. It's very easy to install that. All right. So now I've opened up anti-gravity. I have it here. And I'm gonna drop in this first AI agent file into the workspace. Now, when I click on this, you can see there is nothing in there, but we have the folder which is open. All right, now you press this, and you're just gonna create a thing called Claude.md. All right, this is the instruction file for Claude. Now, depending on what you want the agents to do, that's where you're gonna have to outline all of this stuff. So I'm gonna show you in the example of this video what it's gonna be, but it's gonna change depending on what you want. So in this case, we have this, right? And this is all in the description. So you can go ahead and just grab this file. So you can see it says here, role and mission. You are a senior market research agent. Your goal is to find, analyze, whatever, operation rules, bench. Okay, so you have all this stuff here. And this you would, okay, pretty much you would change like what you want it to be, what the goals are. You would, these operational rules, I've chosen them. I've given it a rule of zero external APIs, never ask for Firecall, OpenAI, or the keys use built-in web search for everything, persistence first, analytical rigor. So this is where you're gonna pretty much decide what the main agentic system is supposed to do. Okay. Now there's a few more files and folders that we want to make before we go any further. So the next one is going to be about the standard operating procedure for it. So that's going to be in a folder called workflows. So you press this and call this workflows. Okay? And I'm going to make a new file here and I'm going to call this market underscore intel .md. All right. Now again, in the description, so you can grab it there. So here we have the market intelligence workflow. All right, you don't really need to pay attention to this other part. But this is basically saying we're going to use web search to find the top 5 competitors in a specified niche. So for now, I'm going to bring that to 3. Search for niche market leaders, niche startup competitors, and alternative to our business, which it doesn't know what that is yet. We'll tell that in a second. Okay. So these are all variables that it doesn't know yet, but we're gonna feed that to it in a second. As you can see, we're not writing any code ourselves. It says here, write a Python script to create matrix comparing our pricing against theirs. Calculate the price per key feature metric. Okay, so we're not gonna write any code ourselves. It's purely gonna be written by the agent. All right, the next thing you're gonna do now is inside workflows is you're gonna make another one, and this is gonna be called business profile, business underscore profile, and this is gonna be written in JSON. Okay, so write it in JSON, which basically just is JavaScript. Um, oh, I forgot what it stands for. So right, so we're gonna write this in JSON, and again, it's in the description. So you can see here's what we've actually told everything. Company name, and that would be your AI agency, focus is this, whatever, whatever. So for example, my company name, we will just say it's Espresso AI. Okay. So actually, we don't want this to be in the workflows because this is not a workflow. This is just variable information that the workflow will use, but it isn't a workflow. So we'll bring that out and move it into the root folder so that it's right there with Claude MD. Okay. Now, the last thing we want to do is create the tools folder. See this slash temp, right? Yeah, but to be honest, the agent should be able to do that by itself. So if we look at our current folder structure, what we have, and you can close this by the way, what we have is we have workflows, which has the market intel, right? Which is just this. We have the Claude.md, which is the instructions, right? And then we have our business profile, so it knows who we are. Business profile JSON file. And we have workflows there. Okay. Now, and you to remember where you saved that. So what we'll do is we'll go here. Mine was in documents, and it was called first AI agent. Now you can see I'm in there because if I type ls, I have my Claude.md, my business profile, and my workflows folder. Okay. So here's where we're going to actually call Claude Code using Olama. So thankfully, Olama has actually been able to now their current models have sub-agents in them and also allow for web research. So we can use that to our advantage. So you just paste this command in, which is Olama launch Claude. This is the model that we're using, Minimax 2.5 Cloud. And you can use different models, but for now we'll just stick with this one. So when I press enter, you can see I'm going to say, yeah, I trust this folder. And we've launched Claude Code. So I'm going to tell Claude that can you read at claude.md and set up my project structure. And what we'll also just tell it is like, then after this, I want you just to run the init command. Contains that could alter command parsing. Yep. So we will end up being able to run this entire thing for free using Olama. So right now my storage reset. So if I refresh this page, you can see I've used 0.5% so far just from telling it to run the commands, right? So this will definitely take up some percentage of this, but it's a way to actually run agents for free, which is pretty crazy. Okay, so once it finishes doing all the setup stuff, we're just gonna be able to simply tell it, because if you look at what we gave it as the instructions, we said this is what its job was. This is what it's supposed to do. And if you look at the market intel and I look at, sorry, I do a quick look. If I do a quick look, we have phase one discovery, phase two deep analysis, and phase three strategic reporting. So we've said top three competitors. So what I'm gonna do, what we'll do at the once it's done, is we'll actually tell it to go ahead and actually start phase one, then move to phase two, move to phase three, and then present me with the results. And you'll be able to see AI agents doing this entire thing. So they'll go and find the competitors in my niche, and it knows my niche because of the business profile JSON. So all we did was give it very few, very simple, easy to write documents, and it's actually able to do a bunch of stuff with it. So right now, if you wanted to see, you can check a bunch of things here. One is you can see the tokens, so you can see how much is actually being used. And if you press Control O, you'll be able to see what Claude is actually thinking about. So it says the user, well, this is not Claude actually. This model that we're using here isn't Claude. It's the Minimax M2.5 cloud model by Olama. But basically, you can see what the agent is thinking. And the good thing is that this model supports sub-agents and it supports web search, meaning we don't have to even give it a web search tool because it's able to, on its own, search the web. So we can wait right now. It's setting up the project structure. So even if we watch the project, see these two files, we didn't make them. It just made these two files right now. So we should be able to see that a lot of stuff will be changing and this folder will be getting populated. So it's asking to overwrite claude.md, right? And I'm going to say you can edit claude.md, which is fine. And the reason I'm allowing that is because we gave it a very brief one, and look at the one that it's written. It's making it better, which is totally fine. All right, anyways, while this runs, I suppose it would be a good time for me to show you how it looks like if you were to run this using Anthropic's Claude Code itself, like using the actual CLI. So if I open a new terminal here, I'll make it a bit bigger. Okay, so if I go ahead and I'm just gonna pick a folder, right? Like a different folder. For example, we have this, let's go with something a little bit tech heavy, maybe the lead matching system. Okay, so I'm gonna go into documents and I'm gonna go into this lead matching system. I'm gonna write Claude. Okay, I'm just gonna write Claude and I'm saying yes, I trust this folder. Now you can see here's the key differences between running it for free and running it not like we're paying for the one. Here, when I look at model, you can see that the default one, which is what we're running, is Sonnet 4.6. Okay, this has a charge. When you look at this, if I do slash model in this one, which is the free one, right? We're running Minimax M2.5 Cloud, which is a custom model and doesn't have a price. You look at Sonnet, we would be paying $6 per input and 22.50 per output, right, per million tokens. So right now, this one is the custom model, this Minimax M2.5 Cloud, which is free. So if we go here, and I could, for example, I could just choose Opus, right? Expensive model, but this would be using my Anthropic account. So when you install the desktop version of Claude, okay, when you do Claude desktop and you install this, sorry, this is the link. When you get this, right, for you to get access to Claude Cowork and Claude Code, you need to be on a subscription. So for example, I have Claude Code here, right? And I have Claude Cowork, both of them, because I'm on a pro plan, right? So that's what this is using. Okay, so that's what this is gonna use. So now if I could tell it to do the same thing as this, but it would do this one a lot better, like so much better because of the kind of reasoning power that Claude Opus 4.6 actually has. But anyways, this video is for if you're a beginner and you don't have an Anthropic account or anything like that and you're just getting started, this free version is probably by far the best way for you to begin. Okay, so now let's talk about how we're actually going to run this model. So I'm going to say, okay, go ahead and start with phase one, then move to two, and then three. Notify me when agents are done working. And now if I check my usage here, I'm at 8.4%. Right, so when that ends, it ends. It has to reset every day. So it says every 5 hours, I think it resets. And that's because, point this out, we're using a cloud model. If you're using a local model, you don't really have that limitation, right? But the local models are not that good, all right? So it wants to get permission to do a web search. I'll say yeah, web search, and don't ask me again about it because the whole point of this is that it's supposed to be autonomous and we don't need to be there. So it's supposed to just be able to do it by itself. So right now it has agents searching the net for this information. Once it's done that, it's going to give that information to another agent, which is going to do a deep research analysis. And then it's going to pass that to a third agent, which is going to do the formatting and present us the results. So if you're running it yourself right now and you're following along, let it be. When it asks for you to give permissions if you want to. And if you want to change how frequently that happens, you can just press, like, if you press Shift Tab, right, you can go plan mode, you can do fast mode, and you can do accept edits. Right, so I'm going on accept edits so that it just doesn't ask me, it just does it. But if I switch to plan mode, I'd have to check its plan, accept the plan, and then let it work. So if it's a more complex task, that's a great way to go. But if it's a very simple task like this, where we've given it everything it needs, phase one, phase two, phase three, all in a markdown file, I'm not really worried. So you can have it on accept edits on, and it can run the whole thing by itself. So we'll come back when it's done. All right, so you can see it's just finished phase one. Okay, it says phase one complete and it saved it here. So now if I go back to the document, remember how we had these two folders, it made it itself and they were both empty. Now look, what's it done? It's brought to us the competitor list, right? My competitors, right? Who's my competition? It's those people. So it's managed to do that. Now it's moved on to phase two. So this was our first piece of agentic workflows, right? This is our first one, and it's like the thing is, if you wanted to take this to like a different level, what you would do is you'd go into this Claude.md file, okay? And you could make an edit in here, and you could say something along the lines of, we would probably refer to this as your agentic strategy. And I'd say, so for example, I'd say for research for phase one, I'd say since you are researching three competitors, you will spin up three sub-agents to do that research. Okay, and you can go on and on and say like for phase two, you have this into a SWOT analysis. So I'm gonna say use three sub-agents to do that, as it needs to be high quality and fast. Okay, and then we'd say, for example, in phase three, right? Now, what we would do is you could have that as your thing there, and not have it be a problem and whatever. So don't save that. That's one way you would take this to a different level. Another way, I'm gonna be real, is you could in here, you can just type it in there and be like, for the analysis, I want you to use three sub agents. Okay? Now, it already started phase two, the deep analysis, but we would have been able to say that, and it would have been able to spin up the sub agents, right? So what we can do here is we can say something like, when you get, I think phase three, so when you get to phase three, I want you to use two sub agents. One will make a markdown, one will make a markdown presentation, and one will make a PDF presentation. Okay, this is really good because it's also going to show that it actually has to use a different skill. It has to be able to generate PDFs. So if I can just send this right now, it's not going to be a problem. It's not going to stop doing what it's doing. Once it finishes this, it's going to consider what I've said. Okay? Although unfortunately it seems to already have finished phase three. Let's see. Research, we have all these new files. Reports, we have the markdown here. Markdown is looking good. And now you can see I said I want you to use this. So if I look at what it's thinking, it says the user wants me to redo phase three with sub-agents, one for markdown presentation and one for PDF presentation. Let me create these sub-agents. I'll launch two in parallel, one to do markdown and one to do PDF. Let me first read the report so that I, whatever, right? So you can have sub-agents created, right? I'm gonna say, yeah, you can. Yep, 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 yep. Because we had a bunch of files, right? So you can see how many agents do we have? Two. We have one that's doing PDF and one that's doing markdown, right? We've now spun up sub agents, which is completely different than just having regular agents. So now if we look at this folder here, the reports are still there and the research is still there, but we wait a bit and we're gonna end up with the PDF and the markdown and done by different agents. So you can see it's trying to find a way to actually generate a presentation that's in PDF form, right? Markdown is very easy for it to do, but for it to do PDF, it's gonna have to use, like I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, it's gonna have to use some skills that it doesn't have yet. It's gonna have to generate some Python in order to get a PDF. So now if I check my usage, it's been bumped up quite a bit, right? That this one thing that we're doing here. So if we had used the Anthropic official, if we had launched Claude Code officially through Opus, for example, it would have been much quicker at doing this, and it would have already been able to make the PDF for us. But it depends on the model that we're using. So for example, this one But the good thing is that it has to actually make a Python script to get the skill of PDF generation. So I'll let it run. All right, so you can see it managed to get that mostly done. Now it wants to know if it can actually run a bash command to do the conversion. I'm going to say yes, it can. So this shouldn't take much longer. We're only 3 minutes in. So, yep. Let's see how it's still. So you can see this is the strategic report. Okay. This is the presentation in Markdown, which I'm not gonna lie, it's not the same thing, but it's not very aesthetic. I don't like it. So that's why I asked for it to do also a PDF one. So, all right. Yeah, you can run Python 3 commands. I'm excited to see what it does. All right, and it has finished completely. All right. So it's finished completely. As you can see here, it says two tasks finished. When you see this, this means that it used sub agents to do this stuff. So you managed to, not only did you build your very first agentic workflow today, but you also went ahead and ran sub agents, which is pretty crazy. So here is the presentation.md, all right? And it also went ahead and generated a PDF version right here of this, just as a PDF. Now you can see it's not the best, but for a complete beginner, you're completely starting out and you've not like given it any context behind how to do PDFs. We just went ahead and throw it at it. We said make a PDF and it didn't prep for any PDFs. So having not given it any previous context, it's honestly great if this is just your very first agent. Now, obviously, as you get better at it, you'll see how to get it to generate PDFs that look like this, right? I have a bunch of them over here, as you can see, right? They have really aesthetic cover pages like this, and the content is a lot better written. And this takes only a couple of minutes, maybe like 5 or 6 minutes. Like this is another one, right? And then this is the most recent one I made today was actually about this and this entire thing about building your very first agentic workflow, which is the one I showed you earlier, right? Has all of the stuff, and you can see it's even managed to combine screenshots and extract the text and make it copy pastable so I can copy from within the guide, right? It's managed to write all of the markdown over here directly from here. It's been written here so you can copy and paste it. So you can see that's a bit more of a complicated system, but it's fundamentally the same thing. Once you get good at being able to instruct and you get good at being able to write markdown for the agent to follow, as we did here, right? This one. Once you're able to write this in a good way, you're able to get the agent to do everything, right? And the workflow as well. As for the tools, you don't need to worry about that because it handles all of that by itself. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked it. That's if you want to do it free. I also showed you about how to do it the paid way. But at the end of the day, you gotta learn this kind of stuff. So see you in the next one.